Good morning, everybody. Please do not penalize me for my eyebrows. I was in a rush this morning. Okay, so now that I can breathe just a tad bit, because I just got finished dropping Symphony off. Y'all, it was something this morning, like walking solo, getting this, getting that. But one thing I will say is that I made my own coffee with my whipped cream inside of my Dunkin' Donuts cup, so I feel like I went somewhere and did something. So yeah, I had a really weird dream last night. I can only remember I was in a cemetery, and the whole front row of the cemetery were, it was weird. It was gay people, or I knew that these people were the deceased. Majority of these people were like gay people. I don't know. I had this dream yesterday, and I was thinking like all that water is going to get down in their caskets because it was raining a little bit. I don't know. It was just really, really weird. But anyway, so I can't remember everything of the dream, but the dream was just, it was a lot of stuff going on in the dream. But then it wasn't just them though. I realized when I looked around in the cemetery, it was a whole bunch of dead people. I didn't see like dead corpse or anything like that, but I just saw a whole bunch of like tombstones, so I don't know what that dream was about, but I just remember like the front were and they didn't have names on it. I just knew that these were gay people or whatever like that. So I don't know what that means. I have to figure that out. Maybe it means like, I don't know. But anyway, so I decided to talk about looking back, right? Have you ever looked back at your life, not your life, but at certain markers in your life, in your past, and you say, dag, I came a long way. I came a long way. I was looking at some of my old videos, and one of the old videos that I was looking at is when I saw myself with gray hair and I was holding Symphony, and I saw my face. This is an old video I'm looking at, and I can tell like I was really afraid around that time. I was really scared at that time, and I'm like, thank God you delivered me from that. I was so afraid. And then, you can really see it in my face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to turn. I thank God that He carried me out of that. And, I was just looking at that video. I'm like, man, I just looked like I was just afraid. I was scared. I was vulnerable. And I'm like, dang, I just thank God He delivered me from that. I thank God that I came through that. Yes, it was a war. Yes, it was battles, and I'm still fighting this same war, but we got one more battlefield to go. But I was thinking like, when we go through certain things in our life, it's like we overcome one mountain and another mountain is there. So I just feel like this demon was really, kind of tough to chop its head off. And now I'm like, Lord, I don't even want to know what's going to come. I'm not saying that life is all about bad things, but it's like as soon as you conquer one thing, it's like a video game. As soon as you conquer one level, you on to the next one. Yes, you gain all those ranks. Yes, you done got yourself a shiny new sword and a new shield and a new helmet. And God done gave you some special gift. But now you on to the next level where you just battling the next big thing. Y'all tell me what you think. Have you ever looked back and said, I remember, you looking back, you're like, that was a small giant right there. But this one right here is big. Now, if I had to compare, like, losing my babies when I lost them, that was a big demon I was battling. That was a big giant I was battling. And me and my husband was battling it. So I don't know if the devil said, well, you know what, since she made it this one, how the Bible talks about when he came before the Lord and the Lord asked him, like, what you been up to? And I'm just saying it verbatim. And he's like, I've been going through and going around seeing who I can pretty much tempt. And the Lord was like, well, did you try my servant Job? I remember reading that and I said, Father, please don't let the devil try. Like, please don't let him tempt me, please. Because what he did with Job, he took everything. He took his children away, and his friends was just like, hey, you know. His wife was like, why don't you just curse God and die, you know? And it was like, everything he went through, I was like, oh dear. And if you notice, when you read, if you never read Job, read Job. And y'all, just to let y'all know, I'm doing my afro thing. Because I've been putting my pieces on, and I need my edges back. So I gotta like do my natural thing. Anyway, so if you never read Job, you need to read Job. Because if you notice, when things got destroyed, it was always one person to come back. It was always one witness to come back to Job and be like, I was the only one who survived to tell you this. And I mean, his children died, and he was just so messed up. And I'm like, dang. And so I'm like, was I tested? Well, no, I know I was tested. I just feel like the enemy, like the Lord allowed certain things to happen for a certain reason so the Lord can get the glory. I get that. Because when I was going through my losses with my babies and I was crying and everything, I was just so grateful that my husband was still beside me, that he was there. And I just feel like, and I'm just saying, this is what I feel like. I feel like the enemy, the devil, was like, well, Lord, if you let me test her on the relationship that she has with her husband, then we'll see if she'll give up and curse you. And the Lord like, okay. Because he know I'm not. So, looking back at those old videos of me going through it with a brand new baby, I'm like, dang. I feel sorry looking at it. Like, girl, it's going to be okay. I should know because I'm you. I should know. So whatever you're going through in your life, you know, this too shall pass. Everything has to change. It doesn't matter. Nothing stays the same forever. Nothing. You know, people say, well, you know, diamonds last forever. Yeah, but some of them buried in ground or go back to whatever state it was in. But yeah, when I look back at that, I remember I was crying. I was holding on to dear life. People don't even realize what you know, the enemy used these people to just, I don't know. But I will say this, is that I can't say that I learned a lot along the way, and I'm still learning too. I'm still learning to trust God, you know, but I'm not at that vulnerable place anymore. That I know, like I said, when I look back at that video, you know, first of all, when you have a baby, you're dealing with all types of emotions, because you're dealing with postpartum. Not saying I had postpartum depression, but I just, you know, had a C-section, you know, and then remember the year before then, or the year and a half before then, I lost a baby. Before then, I lost a baby. So I was going through a lot of things. And here it is, the time for me to be so happy. Then I lose my husband. You know, and I'm just like, what is going on? And lose the house. And lose my favorite cat of all time, Gamera. I miss that cat. That cat had a big forehead. And she always got in my things. Gamera was like my baby. Those cats, though, when they were kittens, they helped me get through a lot when I was like, I want to have a baby. So when I look back at stuff, I'm like, I'm not the same person. And I thank God that he delivered me from that. It was sadness. Even my cousin, she told me that, you know, when she would show up to the house, she can feel it in the atmosphere. It was so saddening. To the point that I remember when she showed up for the visitation, she had to leave and go around, walk around the block, because it was to the point where she could see all of this and didn't understand. And I remember I remember her saying that she saw a vision of me being shot. I don't know if it was a dream or a vision. And she heard me scream. And the Lord said, this has to happen. And this is my cousin telling me this. And she came back and because the Lord said that from this something was going to come out of it. And she didn't know what it meant until I told when I was in, I mean, it was crazy. But she came back and she told me that. And I was like, wow. But when I look back at that video, I was vulnerable. I was in a state where I didn't know what to do. I was just abandoned. You know what I mean? I didn't know what these people were trying to do, how they were trying to take my daughter, how they were, conniving to the point it was just, I couldn't trust anybody. I thought that my folks was going to come back and they didn't. But looking at that video, I just looked, what's the word? Weak. And just, but thank God, thank God. So y'all, if you ever get appointed in your life where you feel like you just can't go on, trust God. Lead not to your own understanding. He is going to take you. He is going to deliver you. He's going to be there for you. He's going to make sure that you are good. You and yours is good. Just trust in Him and lean not to your own understanding. Lean not to your own understanding. And move forward too. Don't look back. Move forward. Because that's just like with Lot and his wife. The angel told everybody, don't turn around. And she turned around, and that's why she turned into a pillar of salt. A pillar of salt. So don't look back, move forward. But in everything, you got to, in everything, there is a learning experience in it. What can I say that I've learned out of this whole thing? I learned that everything that shines is not gold. And everybody who says that they are saved and they are saints are not. I learned too to humble myself and forgive those who did me wrong so God can forgive me. I've also learned no matter what, God is with me. He's walking with me. It doesn't matter if I have one attorney, two attorneys, three attorneys. God is with me. I also learned that what's yours will be yours and can't nobody take that away. I also learned that you was born in this world by yourself and you're going to leave by yourself. Because sometimes what we do, especially as women who are married, we put our husbands on this high pedestal and we forget our worth. We forget that God created us, for a reason. And it's not just to be the servant to the man. No. So I've learned that. Looking back at that video, and it kind of was looking like, wow, Mona. I could see the way my gestures were, like looking around, like not knowing what to do, not knowing what to turn, hoping that this is going to work out in the way that I wanted it to work out. But see, God said, no, Mona, I want you here at this appointed time, and I want you away from that. I didn't want to accept the fact that He walked the way He did, and He did those things. I didn't want to accept that. But the truth is that when people do you wrong, and you're going to come across those people, when people do you wrong, they too have their judgment, and that comes from God and nobody else but God. But when God wants you to be at an appointed time, right on time, at a particular time, He's going to push you to be there. I don't think nobody in this world has it easy. And I'm not saying you have to have it harsh, but everybody goes through trials and tribulations. Not everybody share it. And sometimes too, I look back and I'm like, did I give too much information? And am I really giving showing all of my things really do too much, into sharing that. But then I gotta realize, like, everybody got a testimony too. And from that testimony, you had to go through some issues and some dire and trying times, right? You had to go through that. You got a lot of false preachers out there who portray themselves to be perfect ninnies, and they're not. They try to say, like, don't think this way. If you think that way, then nothing but greatness will come. But yet, did you not read the word? That the devil goes out seeking who he can conquer and divide, who he can take down. Some of these people out here commit suicide, and we hear all of the crazy things, because it's like when you went through a bad spot in your life, you feel like you're not ever gonna come back or jump from that. But no, we gotta just depend on God and just know that he's gonna take us out of this situation, no matter what it is. Everybody got certain levels of situations. This person may be going through it because they just lost a job and don't know how they're gonna pay rent. But this person right here just got the bad news that their son just passed away. This person right here just got the news that they got cancer. This person, everybody has certain levels of what they're dealing with in life. But it's all about us trusting in God and leaning not to our own understanding. So when I look back at those videos, I was clinging and holding on to God. But the thing that I saw in those videos is that I needed to know and really know I'm good. He gonna bring me out of this. He gonna bring me out of this. But I guess it's easier said when you in the situation. Just like when the Lord was on the boat with the disciples, and it was storming, and they screaming to the top of their lungs, screaming, just crying and screaming and storming and everything. And the Lord is sleeping, like, what in the world? So he wakes up to their screams, and he just says, peace, be still. Peace, be still. And so from there, everything was calm. Everything was calm. So it's like, I feel like I'm looking back at my old videos, definitely not the same person. But it's like this, when you go on a job training and you learn a new skill, you learn how to overcome an obstacle in a job. Then all of a sudden you like, I know how to solve this problem. I have the solution now. I know the answer to this. It's the same thing in life. I realized that a lot of the dramas that I used to have when I was in my teen, my late teen, early 20s or whatever, partying all the time, it was the company that I was keeping. So I know how to solve this problem. Don't keep that company anymore. If the company is not in alignment with me, y'all believing in your false gods and you cursing my Lord, and I'm all of a sudden the bad luck that's been happening to you is now coming over to my end. I know the solution to this. I know how to solve this problem. Get rid of you, because you are the issue. When we look at the Bible, when we look at Jonah, the Lord told him to go somewhere and tell these people to repent, right? He was like, shoot, them people deserve to die. And he went off in the mist. Now I'm saying it verbatim. But when he got on the boat, when you're not in alignment with God, you curse yourself. You do, and you become a curse to everyone else. So here you had these men that are like pretty much professional fishers. They've been out to sea so many times. Now as soon as this dude gets on the boat with them, Jonah gets on the boat with them, and then all of a sudden they're in a storm. The boat is being tossed to and fro. It's about to sink. And they like, what's going on here? We ain't never had no issues like this. And then they decided to cast lot, meaning, you know how whoever got the smallest stick, we gonna throw overboard. So sure enough, they went ahead and cast lot, and Jonah had the smallest whatever. And they're like, what God do you serve? And he was like, the true living God. Now I'm saying it verbatim. Y'all got to make sure y'all read the story. And so what they did was they prayed before they cast him over. So they cast him over, and as soon as his body hit the water, it was peaceful. So that lets you know that when all hell breaks loose, it's because of the company that you keeping. It's because, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what I learned at a young age. That's what I learned. And my mother had to bring that to the light, that there are certain people you can't hang around with. Because I remember when this one girl, she wanted to be around me so much. I mean, she liked to smoke weed before she go to work. Her house electricity got turned off. Next thing you know, my electricity got turned off. She about to get kicked out. Now I'm almost 2 months behind in my mortgage. You know, it was like all of these things was going wrong. Here I am praying, and the whole time she cursing God. My mother's was like, it's her. You got to get rid of her. And the minute I got rid of her, the minute I humbled myself, the minute I went to the Lord in prayer, you know, on my face, on my knees, everything got restored. Everything got restored. So when I look back at those videos, I was afraid. And if I can say to myself, if I could go back and say there's nothing to be afraid of, you trust not, don't, it's like this. God says to trust in him. He is the same. He is faithful. It don't matter what you're going through right now. It doesn't matter. You lean not to your own understanding. See, your own understanding can say, I'm going to get put out on the streets. Your own understanding can say, he just told me this and I may just die next week. Your own understanding can say, I'm going to lose everything. Your own understanding can look at the negative because you Googling everything. That's your own understanding. Lean not to your own understanding, because when God does it, he does it very big. And when I say he does it big, he does it big. That's why it says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. We think, I'm going to do this. That what you doing ain't got, that's not on the scale. That's not on the scale with the Lord. See, when you lean to your own understanding, you think, okay, Goliath is big. I'm going to need to get me a gauge to take this daggone giant down. But the Lord said, no. David went ahead and got his 3 smooth stones and popped them. And then he took off his head. Okay? When we lean to our own understanding, we think that, oh my gosh, they about to toss me in this fire. I'm dead. No, don't lean to your own understanding. Don't lean to it because, hey, good morning. Don't lean to your own understanding, y'all. Don't. Because if you do that, you'll mess the whole process up. Sometimes you just got to be. I remember one time, this is years ago, when I thought I was going to lose my house. I'm dealing with so much stuff. I'm dealing with so much. And then they sent me this notice that said pretty much my house about to go into foreclosure. I owe $6,000. I took the letter and I held it up to the Lord, and y'all, I started laughing like the Joker. Do you hear me? Like like Nicolas Cage. Remember he saw his face and just started laughing like, Lord, I can't no more. I just can't. I just said, Lord, you deal with it. And guess what? $7,000 came in the mail and the mortgage was paid. Lean not to your own understanding. I remember one time being fired from a job, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Trying to get unemployment. And I ain't even had time enough to get the check, because guess what? 2 days later, I got a new job with better pay. Lean not to your own understanding. Y'all remember when I was sitting up there having a temper tantrum because why am I the only woman that's not carrying and having a baby right now? Everybody else is getting pregnant. Everybody else is fertile myrtles. Everybody is carrying their child to the fertile term. Everybody else is walking their baby to school, and I'm the only one with no child. But the Lord said, lean not to your own understanding. And now I got a baby. So when I look back at that video, I just was like, dang, I can see the pain, the hurt, the frustration, the vulnerability, the scaredness. But lean not to your own understanding, y'all. Lean not to your own. I don't care what you're going through. They said this was going to happen. Lean not to your own understanding. But this was a believe in the Lord, trust in the Lord, and watch him. And it says, humble yourself. And God will lift you up. Not up, but he will lift you up. He will prepare a table before your enemies. He will. He will. He'll have you doing things for your enemies. And they're like, why is she being so nice to us? Remember Joseph? Joseph got sold by his own brothers. They sold him for a couple of coins and went back to his father and said, Dad, he got ate by an animal. Whole time they believed their lies. Some people will believe their lies too, y'all. And the whole time when Joseph was going through all of this mess, not only being sold, not only being accused of raping some fast-tailed so-called queen, but he was this close to his life being taken away. And at one time in the Bible, I didn't hear him complain at all. I didn't hear him complain at all. It's like he trusted the Lord and he knew. He knew, like, God got me. Or maybe there was maybe they just didn't put it in the Bible, but he knew they got me. But it's like God took him. Now remember, if you remember what Joseph was brought up to do, Joseph knew how to do cropping. He knew how to tend to the sheep. Like his father taught him to do these things. So God knew that Egypt was going to go through a famine at that time, right? Now, the brothers think, yeah, this is what we going to do. We going to go ahead and do A, B, C, and the third. But the whole time, God already had a position for Joseph. He needed him to speak to this king and tell this king, this is what's about to happen. If y'all never read Joseph, you need to read Joseph, because the king was given a dream. In the dream, he showed a skinny cow, and then in another, same dream, then he saw a fat cow, and nobody was able to figure out or discern this king's dream. They wasn't able to translate this king's dream. Nobody was able to do it. But Joseph. And Joseph told him, yeah, for 7 long years, you're going to be eating good. Egypt is going to be really nice. But then a famine is going to come for 7 other years that's going to dry this land up. But Joseph knew the solution. All we got to do is get the grain and do the ABC and the third. Why? Because Joseph, when he was young, he was farming. He was pretty much like farming land. That's what his father taught him to do. So when he saw his brothers, he recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. And you know why? Because when God takes you into a new position, when he takes you into a new place, you're not the same. Not only do you change inside, but you change on the outside too. That people can't even recognize you. Kim, is that you? They can't even recognize you. Think about it. When he saw his brothers, all of them, they didn't even recognize their own brother that they sold for a couple of coins, that they put in a ditch before they sold him. They didn't even recognize him. Because when God changes you, when he changes you, people don't even recognize you. You talking different, looking different, acting different. That's because God then went ahead and took him to a new position now. He is authority now. He is authority. The king, the head chief, or whoever you want to call it, he wouldn't do anything without Joseph. Now, Joseph then went through all of this stuff, and look where he is right now. Nobody goes through life and not deal with the trials of life. Jesus, our Savior, went through trials, okay? He had to die on the cross for our sins. He didn't just say, I'm here, I'm born, I'm here. Okay, who wants to be saved? No, he went through it. So therefore, when you look back at the prophets, they went through it. Nobody went through good times. Everybody has to be tested, and they have to be tested full, because you just can't be born and say, hey, I'm good, I'm here. Even a baby, before that baby is in heaven, they went through death, and now they're in heaven. Nobody is not ever going to not go through trials in their life. But lean not to your own understanding, and always acknowledge God. and always acknowledge him. And so he'll make your enemies be your friends. He'll make your enemies look at you. Now, remember, his brothers then sold, the brothers of Joseph then sold him into slavery, right? They just sold him for a couple of coins, took his coat of many colors. And before they did that, remember, they put him in a ditch and had him crying out like, please, why are y'all doing this to me? And they were like, man, we just can't leave him right there. Let's just go sell him. So they went ahead and sold him, and then went back and lied. And then when they saw their brother years later in Egypt, they didn't even recognize him. He's dressed in royalty. They didn't even recognize their own brother. And when Joseph asked them how many of y'all is there, they said, well, what did they say? Well, our brother, please. I remember they was pleading with him because he falsely put stuff in their bag and accused them of stealing. And they was like, look, we lost one of our brothers. One of our brothers had died, and didn't even realize you looking at their brother right there. Some people, y'all, will believe their lies. It doesn't even matter when you're trying to tell them, this is what you did to me. Some people will believe their lies. Some people will believe it. Some people would say, I didn't do it. Or, like they said, our brother, he died. He all of these years later, and you still lying. And you're lying to the person that's your brother. That you're lying to the person that's your brother. So looking back, y'all, and I got to get some gas real quick. Looking back, I realized that I'm leaning not to my own understanding, and always trusting and believing God that he's going to take you out of whatever situation that you're going through. He's going to. It doesn't matter. It does not matter what it is, y'all. Looking back, I thank God for deliverance. I got my afro. I don't know about this, y'all, but I got to get my what's the names. But yeah, y'all, I'm about to log off. I'm about to log off and try to get some gas. But y'all, no matter what you're going through in your life right now, just don't, lean not to your own understanding. Look back at everything that you ever went through. You overcame that. That was a scary time in your life, but you overcame it, didn't you? You overcame this. You overcame that. You was at a horrible place, and look where you at now. Now you may be going through some type of difficult right now, but you're going to overcome it. Like I said before, I remember they had this study that they did on these senior citizens, these old people. And I like to call them the wise of the wise. And they asked them the things that you learn now at an older age. And I never forget this old black lady. She said, I learned not to worry because God is with me, and he's going to carry me, and it's going to work out okay, not to worry. And I said, that's a lot of wisdom. That is wisdom right there. Here she is old, and out of all of the things, and this lady had to be like maybe 100 years old, and out of all of the things that she went through her life, she realized, when you look back, I did all of that worrying for what? Now here I am. So looking back, y'all, I'm not the same person. I'm a better person. You're not the same person that you were yesterday, because today you learned something new. Notice how, and I'm going to use it as an example with the iPhone. They come out with a new iPhone every single year. It's not the same phone. It may have more advanced technology with the new phone and the way it's curved and all of this other stuff, but it's not the same thing. Look at the cars that they have right now in 2017. Look at 2016 vehicles, 2015, 2013. Look at 2001 cars. They're not the same. I mean, they still do the same functions, which is like pretty much on the road to get you from point A to point B, but it's not the same model. The car has changed. Therefore, you have changed too. So when I look back at that, I thank God for this type of change. I wouldn't, honestly, I'm going after positions now. Well, I never thought I would see myself in. But I think it's because of what I went through. That mentally you have to be ready for that certain position. And I'm just using myself as an example. I think a lot of training, especially when I'll never forget when that one judge said to me, we was trained to be emotionless. Emotionless. When she said that to me, I said, wow, they actually train people to do that. After what I just went through, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not vulnerable. And I'm not just gonna take it. God didn't design me to be that way. And I know I'm just like, Lord, if you with me, I'm ready. Let's do this. So anyway, looking back, y'all, I thank God it came a long way. And I'm sure when you reflect and look back at your life, you'll thank God too that you came a long way. So let me get back, y'all. I gotta get out here and get to work and start grinding. I will speak to y'all later.